You're not even useful anymore." The manager spat the words without flinching. The old man stood still, holding a wrench oil on his hands, not shame. Customers turned away. Staff chuckled. He nodded once, walked outside. But 18 minutes later, the parking lot was sealed off. Two military police vehicles rolled in, and the man everyone dismissed was suddenly saluted. Comment, respect the silent, if this hits you fast. He came to help. He left humiliated. Walter Dean, 74, had been part of Wilson's auto shop for nearly 3 decades. His hands, weathered, callous, steady, had rebuilt more engines than anyone could count. Technically retired 2 years ago, he still came by Tuesdays and Thursdays to mentor the younger mechanics and handle the small fixes everyone else overlooked. This Thursday morning carried the first real chill of autumn. Walter arrived at 8:30, thermos of black coffee in one hand, worn leather toolbox in the other. He nodded to Carlos at the front desk, to Miguel working the lift, to Sarah balancing the books. His routine never varied: hang his faded denim jacket, pull on his shop coveralls, inspect the day's work orders. At 9:17, a silver sedan pulled into the lot, radiator, steaming, hazard lights blinking. A young woman stepped out, clutching her phone, clearly distressed. Through the glass storefront, Walter saw her approaching. Inside, the new manager, Brian Lentz, intercepted her. "We're booked solid, 2-day wait minimum." She gestured toward her smoking car. "But I can't even drive it now. It's overheating." Lentz shrugged. "Well, not my problem. Try calling roadside assistance." As she turned away, shoulders slumped, Walter quietly set down his coffee mug. He grabbed his toolkit and slipped out the side door without fanfare. "Excuse me, miss," he called softly. She turned to hope flickering across her face. "Can you help me?" Walter nodded, already opening his toolbox. "Let's take a look. Sometimes it's just a loose hose." Her relief was palpable. "Thank you so much. I have a job interview in an hour, and I can't afford a tow." Walter smiled, gently checking the radiator cap. "Just water and patience, miss. No panic." 15 minutes of careful work, hands moving with practiced precision despite his age, and the sedan's engine purred to life again. No more steam, no more warning lights. The young woman reached for her wallet. "What do I owe you? I don't have much, but—" Walter waved her off. "Nothing, miss. Just leave a little earlier next time." From the shop's glass office, Brian Lentz had been watching. At 42, with an MBA and 6 months as manager, he viewed the auto shop as his corporate stepping stone, and Walter's kindness as unauthorized charity. He stormed through the bay doors. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Walter?" Walter wiped his hands on a shop rag. "Helping someone who needed it." Lentz's face hardened. "We're not a charity. You don't fix cars for free in my lot." "I was helping." "She's young. No one else stepped up." Lentz scoffed, voice rising. "You're not even on payroll anymore. You're not even useful." Customers inside the waiting area heard every word. A younger mechanic looked down, suddenly fascinated by his oil-stained boots. Lentz raised his voice further, ensuring maximum audience. "You think being some dusty old vet means you get to do whatever you want? Get out of my shop." Walter didn't reply. He wiped his hands, nodded once, and walked out, the side door, toolbox in hand. They watched him walk, but no one walked with him. Inside Wilson's auto shop, tension hung heavy as motor oil. Customers pretended to read outdated magazines. Mechanics found sudden interest in their tools. The wall clock's ticking seemed unnaturally loud. Carlos, the front desk attendant, who had trained under Walter for 3 years, whispered to Miguel behind the computer. Did he really just say that to Walter? Yeah, and loud enough for God himself to hear it. Marianed in his glass-walled office, Lentz paced like a caged predator, muttering to himself. Tired of these old-timers thinking the world owes them something. My shop, my rules. The young woman Walter had helped stood quietly by the counter, still clutching her keys, witness to the entire exchange. "Excuse me," she said, voice soft but clear. "Was that man a mechanic here?" Lentz glanced up from his paperwork. "Used to be, now he just gets in the way." She didn't reply, just stepped outside, phone already to her ear. 10 minutes passed. Walter sat on a weathered bench at the edge of the parking lot, sipping black coffee from his thermos. His hands still carried the familiar scent of grease and metal, the perfume of a lifetime's honest work. A young boy walking past with his mother pointed. "Sir, is your uniform real?" Walter looked down at his coveralls, smiling at the misunderstanding. "Very real. just like the cars I fix. Inside the shop, Carlos kept glancing out the window. Something about Walter's quiet dignity made Lentz's words seem all the more cruel in retrospect. He checked the clock on the computer. Boss, what? Lentz snapped, irritated at the interruption. You might want to come out here. Beyond the plate glass windows, two black SUVs with government plates pulled smoothly into the lot. Their tinted windows revealed nothing but their purposeful positioning. One blocking the entrance, when the exit spoke volumes. Military police. Full uniform. Sidearms visible. The first officer stepped out, cap perfectly aligned posture, ramrod straight. Where is Sergeant First Class Walter Dean? Lentz blinked rapidly, confusion replacing arrogance. Wait, what? He's nobody, just a retired mechanic. That's not what the Pentagon said when we received the call. The MP turned toward Walter, who now stood slowly from his bench, thermos set carefully aside, and saluted. Sir, we received your message. Per protocol, site is secured. Walter shook his head slightly. I didn't call for backup, Lieutenant. I just texted a friend. By now, every eye in the shop, customer and employee alike, pressed against the windows. The second SUV's door opened. Out stepped a man in his 50s, 3 silver stars gleaming on each shoulder of his immaculate uniform. Not just any officer. A lieutenant general, the man Walter had once texted, now the commanding officer of Fort Carson 2 towns over, and a soldier who 27 years earlier had been a terrified lieutenant trapped in a disabled vehicle during Operation Desert Storm. A lieutenant Walter Dean had refused to leave behind. They said he was no one. Then the Pentagon proved otherwise. If this broke something in you, comment, never forgotten, and let's honor every quiet protector still walking among us. The shop froze. The truth arrived in full uniform. Lentz fumbled for composure, stepping outside with an attempt at authority that withered under the general's gaze. I didn't know who he was, he stammered. I just thought, you thought wrong, the MP lieutenant stated flatly. The general moved across the pavement with the unhurried confidence of someone accustomed to being waited for. His focus never wavered from Walter, as if the auto shop and everyone in it were merely backdrop to this reunion. Sergeant Dean trained half the EOD unit that kept this state from losing 14 servicemen in 2009. He announced, voice calibrated to carry without shouting. He built mobile units, drove point and convoy security, and saved 2 lives after retirement. The general's eyes swept the gathering crowd. He's not useless. He's the reason I'm still breathing. Walter looked away, discomfort evident in his posture. Never one for spotlights, even well-deserved ones. Sir, said the general, voice softening, don't let your silence erase your service. He turned to Lentz, who had shrunk several metaphorical inches under the weight of this revelation. This man didn't need your permission to help. He chose to. That's who he's always been. By now, customers had filtered outside phones recording discreetly. Among the employees, a shift had begun, a gravitational pull toward Walter rather than away. Carlos stepped out first, then Miguel, then 3 other mechanics, positioning themselves beside their former mentor. Carlos cleared his throat. He trained me when no one else had time. Fixed my brakes for free when my mom got sick. An older mechanic added, he's the only reason half this shop knows what torque specs mean. Man's forgotten more about engines than most of us will ever learn. Lentz attempted retreat, edging toward the safety of his office. Not yet. The general's command stopped him mid-step. You're going to say it. Say what? That you were wrong. The parking lot fell silent. Even the traffic noise from the nearby street seemed to fade, as if the world itself waited for this small but crucial act of justice. Lentz hesitated, pride warring with self-preservation. Then, barely audible, I was wrong. Say it to him. Lentz turned to meeting Walter's steady gaze. I was wrong, Sergeant Dean. Walter simply nodded. Now you've said it. Live up to it. The silence that followed carried no awkwardness, only the weight of a lesson received, whether willingly or not. The MPs returned to their vehicles with military efficiency. Before departing, the lieutenant handed Carlos a folded patch, the insignia of Walter's old unit. If you need a real leader, call him. He's not done teaching yet. As the SUVs pulled away, Walter picked up his thermos and toolbox. No triumphant posturing. No gloating. Just the same quiet dignity he'd carried in and out of theaters of war and peace alike. That night, someone uploaded phone footage of the encounter. By morning, it had passed 1 million views. The caption read simply, They called him useless. Then the U.S. military showed up. Comments poured in from veterans who recognized Walter's unit patch. From former customers who suddenly connected the gentle mechanic with the decorated soldier. From strangers who saw in Walter something society too often overlooked, the quiet courage of those who serve without seeking recognition. He never asked for applause, but he earned something louder. A week later, the shop door opened. Walter walked in quietly, thermos in hand, 7 minutes early as always. He paused just inside, uncertain of his welcome despite everything. No one spoke, they just stood up. One by one, not a salute, not a chant. Just respect rippling through the room like a silent wave. Carlos approached holding something in his hand. A custom badge newly minted. Mentor in residence. Permanent title, Carlos said. No expiration. Walter pinned it on without ceremony, nodded once. Went back to work. Same bench, same tools, same methodical approach to machines that could be fixed with patience and the right touch. But now no one looked away. Customers requested him specifically. Young mechanics sought his guidance. Even Lentz, humbled but learning, began asking questions about the older models that stumped the computer diagnostics. Walter answered them all with the same steady generosity. Not because he'd been vindicated, but because that's who he'd always been in desert camouflage or oil-stained coveralls. Some battles are fought with weapons, others with wrenches. The hands remain the same. Some people retire. Others still serve in silence and sweat in how they show up. Subscribe to Wounds and Honor if you believe honor doesn't end with a uniform, it begins with who still remembers.